Sit back, relax and enjoy listening. RK sat in silence after the call ended, the sound of SV's mother's words echoing in his mind. He replayed the moments in his head, recalling the way she had clung to him. Her defenses momentarily shattered. It wasn't just trust, it was something deeper. He could feel it. But what did it mean? Was it a fleeting moment of weakness? Or was there something about him that she subconsciously allowed herself to lean on? A part of him wanted to overthink, to dissect every word SV's mom had said, and what the world would say about her. What he had believed just moments ago. But another part of him, a quieter, more intuitive part, urged him to let it be. Some things didn't need overanalyzing. They just needed to be felt. He leaned on the edge of the railing, closing his eyes as he recalled the moments of her mother's revelations. The fear she carried from her childhood, the darkness, the closed spaces, was so deeply embedded in her that it still haunted her. And yet, she carried it alone, never letting anyone see. "I can't even imagine," he muttered, gripping the cold metal of the railing tightly, "how much that must have hurt you back then. And how much it still hurts now." For a moment, his mind drifted to the possibility of what could have happened to her. What could be so terrible to leave such a scar? The question sent a pang of sadness through him. "I don't know what exactly happened to her," RK finally said aloud, almost as if convincing himself. "But if something in her past has left her with this much pain, then I'll be by her side, no matter how much she tries to push me away." He took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill his lungs, and exhaled slowly. The confusion in his mind hadn't disappeared, but it no longer felt suffocating. For once, he didn't need all the answers. "I don't know who you really are, SV," he admitted to himself, his voice soft. "But maybe, just maybe, you're not as cruel, selfish, or ruthless as you want everyone to think. Maybe there's something more behind those walls you've built." His heart ached with an unexplainable emotion, something between hope and determination. Whatever it was, he decided not to fight it. RK felt a newfound clarity. He didn't need to solve the puzzle that was SV right away. All he needed to do was be there, ready for when she needed him, whether she admitted it or not. The thought brought a faint smile to his lips, not of certainty, but of resolve. "I'll be here," he said quietly, almost as if making a promise to the sky. "Even if you don't want me to, even if you don't think you need me, I'll still be here." Then suddenly, his phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him away from his thoughts. He pulled it out and saw a message from Jill. "How are you holding up? Let me know if you need anything." RK saw the message and knew Jill was right. Before he could stop himself, he couldn't hold back his thoughts of SV. But as he knew Jill, the teasing was coming. Without replying, RK was about to put the phone back in his pocket when a voice from behind startled him. "Wow, so now the ignoring has shifted from SV to me." RK turned around to see Jill walking toward him with a playful grin. "Jill," RK said, slightly surprised. "It's nothing like that." Jill raised an eyebrow. "Oh really, brother? Why are you ignoring my text?" "Wait a second." He paused dramatically. "Am I really seeing a smile on that face? The same one who was just so sad and angry a moment ago." RK knew there was no point in trying to fool Jill. Somehow, Jill always managed to see right through him. Taking a deep breath, RK said, "You're right, Jill. I think there's more to SV than what she shows to the world." Jill tilted his head curiously. "More? Like what?" RK's expression shifted, a flicker of excitement in his eyes as he spoke. "I got a call from her mother. She told me that SV's dealing with some childhood trauma, which made her this way. So this morning, whatever she said wasn't meant for me." His voice carried a tone of happiness that was almost contagious, and the relief on his face was unmistakable. And I've realized that SV wasn't angry at me. Probably she was angry at." But just as the words left his mouth, RK's joy faded. His brows furrowed, and the light in his eyes dimmed, replaced by a look of worry. Jill noticed the shift instantly. "Angry at whom, RK?" RK snapped out of his thoughts, hesitated for a moment, and finally said, "Angry at herself." Jill's concern deepened. "Angry at herself? What do you mean?" RK's voice grew more urgent. "It means she probably hurt herself. Jill, I need to go and check." Without waiting for Jill's response, RK turned on his heel and sprinted toward the staircase, his steps hurried and determined. As RK hurried off, Jill called after him in a teasing voice loud enough for RK to hear. If you're running after SV like this, at least make sure you have a plan. You're terrible at surprises, brother, and trust me, she's worse at receiving them. Jill burst into laughter, his voice echoing through the rooftop. As RK disappeared from view, Jill straightened up, his expression growing serious for a moment. But SV, what is it about you that's got him this tangled up? He shook his head, a mix of curiosity and worry flickering in his eyes. Jill leaned on the railing, his gaze fixed on the stairway RK had just descended in such a hurry. The smile on his face faded slightly, replaced by a thoughtful expression. SV, he muttered under his breath, as though speaking to her directly, whatever it is, I really hope you're worth it. Because if you're not, Jill's tone darkened, and his smile faded further. You'll have to answer to me. After a pause, he continued. But then again, you know what? My heart says you are worth it. He chuckled softly, returning to his playful demeanor, a hint of amusement in his voice. I'm starting to sound like RK, aren't I? Jill turned to leave, slipping his hands into his pockets and whistling a soft tune. As he walked away, he mused aloud, RK, you really don't get it, do you? You're not just chasing SV to understand her. He sighed, shaking his head with a smile. I hope you get that before it's too late.